Hey everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Welcome back to yet another review. I'm your host, as ever, Purple Midnight 8, joined by the wife, Amelia,
The
the
wife.
Obsidian Nook, Petal ASMR, whatever you want to be called, whichever you'd prefer me to credit you as. You haven't decided yet, so
Potato. There you
wow, that
go.
was the best thing you could think of.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm so tired. I'm in the middle of a fatigue episode, so my brain's just mushy and there's not a brain cell to be found.
Does it ever have a brain cell to be found?
Yes!
Right, Madam Defensive. Anyway, welcome back. We are here this week with Halloween, the original, at last. We have covered both of the remakes and also Halloween Ends.
Really? I thought it was did.
We've done Halloween, we've done Halloween 2, and we've done Halloween Ends. We've done
I
both
thought
Rob
you,
Zombies and Halloween
sorry, I
Ends.
thought you meant we did like another one from this.
Timeline?
Yeah,
No,
not the.
we have done one from this timeline,
Okay.
obviously Halloween Ends, but and what a
Jeez.
disaster that was. So we're here at last with the classics. 45, yep, 45 years later, which is scary. Neither of us were alive. This film, I just wanted to say, had about the same budget as The Evil Dead, which we covered earlier this week, which was really weird to see the difference in filmmaking between the two. I know you hated it, and it did upset me a bit.
This is so much better than the Evil Dead.
This I think helped having a studio supporting it, but you forget that The Evil Dead was completely indie, if you wish. Because Sam Raimi literally just asked everyone to put their film on who would let them. But obviously, this film probably had the support of Lionsgate or whoever the fuck it was, so that wasn't exactly fair. Anyway, enough about The Evil Dead. If you want to hear us talk about that and hear Amelia repeatedly call it shit, which I've never done with any of her films, which I didn't like. I've just said that I didn't like it quite nicely, but she was just going, "This film's fucking shit."
It's because I'm more to the point.
Yeah, but I wish you'd just be nicer about it and just say you didn't like it.
I didn't
Instead of
like
just being like, it was yeah, no shit, it's too late now.
it.
Anyway, so as I said, we are here with Halloween 1978. It's Amelia's choice this week. Her choices have been narrowed down for the month of October, of course. Whereas I will try and stick with more original films. I want to call it that. So not sequels, unless I can help it.
You mean like the classics like Frankenstein?
Well, we've got a few lined up. Frankenstein may be one of them. The original film, the original black and white Universal horror. Um, that's all I'm going to spoil because
No, there was another one you said about.
I
Or
know there's
was it
one that
okay?
we've spoke about it, but I don't want to spoil it for everyone else. You're gonna have to wait and see. You'll have to wait and see what's coming. But anyway, it doesn't matter. We'll talk. You'll see that when we eventually get to it. So of course, this film is iconic. Everyone's heard of Halloween. Everyone should have seen this. If not, they've definitely seen the recent films like the 2018 one, Through Kills and Ends. Uh, Weirdly, you don't have to watch this film to get what's going on with the 2018 timeline because it's the 2018 one is very much along the lines of a remake. I want to say it's got the similar sort of stuff. There's a lot of original stuff, but then there's a lot of stuff that's clearly like an homage to this film. So you don't have to watch this one to understand the new ones, but it's worth a watch because of how iconic this film is. So there's just one more. There's one more mainstream horror villain that we haven't covered because we've covered Jason, we've covered Michael. We're just missing Freddy, and we have Nightmare on Elm Street. So we may do that. You're getting them mixed up. There's gonna be like 1 week where we're gonna have like three different films. No, maybe even four. When does Friday Nights at Freddy's come out? Yeah, so there's gonna be a Halloween special. There's gonna be both of our choices, and then Five Nights at Freddy's. So that's 4 different films in 1 week, which is crazy. But I forgot what it was. Anyway, so yeah, we covered Jason. We're covering Jason next week for literally a week today for Friday the 13th. We're covering the 2009 reboot. Freddy will eventually come onto the channel. Nightmare on Elm Street, of course, we'll get there soon. We do have the DVD. I may cover that soon, but there's other horror films that would be more suitable for Halloween, other than Nightmare on Elm Street. A few more interesting films, we shall say, but we will get there when we get to it. So anyway, about the actual film, we'll get into our discussion now. If you haven't seen this film, it's 45 years old, so spoilers for God's sake, like, obviously. So this film was directed by, I must say, it was directed by, he did the music, and he also co-wrote it, John Carpenter, also known for The Thing. I think, I don't honestly know.
Shit, I've just now realised something.
What?
If you type in his name, go under movies.
Yeah. Did The Thing, Escape from New York, They Live. Oh, They Live. I love that film. Christine, Big Trouble in Little China, all sorts of like cult classics. Like most of the Halloween films have been involved at some point. What are you looking for?
I'll see it if it's on there.
Silence of the Hams.
Oh no, he didn't do that. There was a Disney film that had John Carpenter's on it. On Disney. But I think I'm getting myself confused.
There's a film called John Carter,
Oh, that must be it then.
not John Carpenter. Anyway, yeah, that did say Disney Plus. Anyway, we're not on about John Carter. We may get around to that one day if we're that bored. But anyway, this film was directed, composed, and co-written by John Carpenter, and also written by Deborah Hill. I don't believe I'm familiar with Deborah Hill. However, I think... Okay, she literally came up straight away. Well, she's passed away, sadly, but that's not what we're after. I swear they did something. So yeah, they mainly worked together for these films. I think I was thinking of someone else who, like, yeah, I might have done. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So yeah, anyway. So on Halloween night, 1963, Judith Myers, played by Sandy Johnson, I've she said it. Google said that she was involved in the Monty Python and the Holy Grail. However, there was another gentleman in that film who was called Sandy Johnson as well. So I was like, really? She's been on the channel? And then it's just like, oh no, some random bloke called Sandy Johnson was part of that film.
Mm.
So yeah, Judith Myers and her boyfriend, who, unlike the Halloween remakes by Rob Zombie, does survive this film. Whereas, of course, in the remake, he gets bludgeoned to death with a baseball bat, which is lovely. Steve, I think his name is. So yeah, they head upstairs to get it on when her boyfriend leaves suddenly. An unseen figure goes upstairs armed with a knife and enters Judith's room. The figure dons a clown mask and attacks her, repeatedly stabbing her to death. So, of course, unlike the remakes, Judith is the first kill when he is a child. But obviously, we have Dickhead in the remake alongside the boyfriend, as mentioned. So the figure returns downstairs and outside as a car pulls up to the house. And of course, the iconic shot of what is revealed to be the killer was, in fact, a child, a Michael Myers. The birth of a fucking lunatic who is going to have some very, very interesting adventures in the sequels when he joins a cult. Well, he's the, as Loomis calls him, pure evil.
Mm.
Which does get later on, especially when it gets to like Curse of Michael Myers, because that's when he's like associated with a cult for some reason. It gets very weird. He's one of the few like horror villains that haven't gone to space. It's Jason's been to space. The Leprechaun is an interesting film.
Didn't understand how they get space.
Don't ask. Jason literally gets like randomly cryogenically frozen, and several like 100 years in the future is found and freed by accident. And it's dumb. Like Leprechaun, I can't even remember how he gets into space. But Leprechaun is a fucking bizarre series of films, and I hope one day we can cover them. It's got Jennifer Aniston in when she's really young. Anyway, doesn't matter. So at Smith's Grove Sanatorium 15 years later, Samuel Loomis, now played by Donald Pleasant and not Malcolm McDowell like the remakes, and Nurse Chambers, played by Nancy Stevens. We will see her again in Halloween Kills, because they got a lot of the legacy cast back for that. Are driving when they suddenly spot some wandering patients, which is not a good sign. The two of them continue to the main gate with Loomis investigating, and a man jumps onto the roof of the car and attacks Chambers before stealing it and driving away. Now, we discussed this when we had this, because I pointed it out to you, and you were like, yeah, that don't make sense. How does Michael know how to drive a car? He's been locked up since he was 6 years old, and he's 21. Who taught a fucking mental patient how to drive?
Realistically,
In like
no.
a mental patient who was in there for murdering someone.
I didn't even think about it, but now you said about it. Yeah, that don't make sense because realistically, he shouldn't.
He shouldn't be able to drive. He shouldn't just know how to drive. But, or even Loomis says about this later. Yeah, he even looks both ways when he's turning into an intersection later on. I hate how the internet pointed that out, and now I can't unsee it. Anyway, so the next day in Haddonfield, so of course this is now Halloween, like actual Halloween. Laurie, played by a returning Jamie Lee Curtis from Halloween Ends, and a brief, very brief cameo in Scream where they're watching this film, which is very weird to say that she's been in two films, and she's been in two films, but technically she's been in one. So she's in this, she's in Scream, but they're watching this. It's very weird. I'm gonna have a stroke if I keep trying to explain this. So she walks to school when Tommy Doyle, played by Brian Andrews, catches up to her as she drops some keys off at the old Myers house. A figure watches them from inside as they leave before stepping out and watching Laurie. Of course, the figure is Michael Myers, but we'll get to that. So Laurie sits in class where she sees Michael, who is played by Nick Castle, watching her from outside before she is distracted and he disappears. Now, it is very strange because Michael is portrayed as a regular like murderer, and obviously that's not great, but still, for some reason he does have like magic powers. Realistically, because he can just disappear. Like later on, he does like basically teleport, and that's going in towards like, oh, is he evil? Is he really like pure evil, or is he just like fast? But anyway, so after school, some boys bully Tommy before Michael intervenes and scares them away. Loomis, while trying to warn the Haddonfield police, discovers an abandoned truck that has Michael's old patient clothes and a dead mechanic. Laurie walks home with Linda, played by PJ Souls, and Annie Brackett, played by Nancy Keys. I think that's how you pronounce it, doesn't matter. When Michael drives past them. The girls continue walking when Linda goes home. Annie and Laurie spot Michael, who quickly hides from them. He basically does the Homer Simpson walking into the bush and disappearing. Laurie keeps walking until she bumps into Sheriff Brackett, played by Charles Cyphers, formerly played by the Chuckster himself, Brad Dourif, who surprises her before he and Annie go home. Laurie returns home where she sees Michael in her backyard, who once again disappears. And after a phone call from Annie, she leaves, where Annie picks her up so she can babysit Tommy. And Loomis goes to a graveyard where he finds Judith's gravestone missing. Annie and Laurie arrive at a hardware store where Brackett is, responding to a robbery where someone stole knives and some Halloween masks. Loomis arrives then when they leave to tell him about Michael coming home. And this is where Michael drives behind him in the car and looks both ways before he turns out of an intersection.
I did say to you that was what you said about them being low budget.
Low budget, they couldn't just like shut the entire street off for a day. You would have realistically had to actually like be careful. But anyway. Michael and Brackett eventually arrive at the old Myers house, finding a dead dog that Michael had partially eaten. Yeah, that's fucked.
That upset me along with him.
He ate a dog. He ate a dog in the second remake as well, but it's not. It's horrible. Like, never kill an animal. And if there's an animal in a horror film, you know it's gonna die. But like, it's horrible. It's upsetting, is what it is. Yep. Loomis tells him of Michael returning home and how he met Michael when he was younger, concluding he's pure evil and needs to be stopped. I just need to double check someone. I just need to check a member of the cast, just in case we had seen, like, them before. Okay, no. It's the wrong person. Anyway, ignore me. So Annie, who is babysitting Lindsay Wallace, who is played by Carl Richards, who again we will see in Halloween Kills many movies away. We've got all of the sequels to this to cover yet. That is going to be our last one, unless they release another fucking film. So yeah, she's babysitting Lindsay when she calls Laurie. Tommy looks out the window, spotting Michael, who is watching from the shadows across the street outside Annie's house. She tries to tell Laurie, but Michael has already left when she investigates. Michael watches Annie from outside before he is forced to kill Lindsay's dog when it barks at him. Yeah, another dead dog. Michael locks Annie inside the laundry room, but Lindsay comes out and rescues her. Annie then answers a call from her boyfriend, who asks Annie to pick him up so they can do the deed. There's a lot of sex in this film. Not explicit sex. We were laughing about the whole under the covers thing, so they didn't have to show explicit nudity. Like, no one needs to see a man ass. Anyway, sorry. Lost track. Annie takes Lindsay over to Tommy's before leaving and getting in a car. Michael jumps out from the back seat and attacks her, slitting her throat and killing her. Now, this is... For Halloween, this is a long time between kills. Like, the last person he killed, if you want to say that, other than dogs. I
was thinking about that because I was being like,
realistically, not a lot of people die in this.
I've got to have more like kills and like. It just seemed to be that the drama like was really spaced out.
It was more.
I don't know.
It was more focused on suspense and then being like, death, slash, kill.
But even when you did have the deaths, it was a bit like, I know the budget was small, but they didn't have any fake blood or anything.
I mean, there is a few bits. It's not like excessive gore. It's not like their throats are being slit and just blood is splashing everywhere. Like, they use their budget well in order to, well, keep costs low. But they kept the suspense going. That's why, obviously, the dogs are just being gone. And there's a few stabbings. Like, someone who dies later on didn't have any blood, presumably to save its like budget. But anyway, we'll talk about that in a minute. So Linda and her boyfriend Bob, played by John Michael Graham, arrive at Lindsay's house to see Annie. The two are delighted after hearing from Laurie that Annie and Lindsay are out of the house and head upstairs to have sex. Of course, Annie is very much out of her house. She's out of this world. She's fucking dead. So Bob heads down for some after-sex beer. They literally bump uglies for about 2 seconds. Then Linda's like, "Oh, that was wonderful." It's like, what? You sort of fumbled around under the blankets and then he finished in like a matter of moments. That's unfortunate, love. How did you enjoy yourself? Anyway, so he heads down for some after-sex beer where Michael attacks him and kills him with knife magic. That is what it will forever be known as to me, because as we've heard several times now in pretty much every one of the Halloween reviews, is that knives can't pin people to a fucking wall. It doesn't work like that. How long is the knife? Anyway, I'm not going on another tangent. But I've had enough of doing that. So as Linda waits for him, Michael comes upstairs dressed in a sheet with Bob's glasses and chokes Linda to death with a phone wire when she tries to call Laurie. Laurie mistakes her struggling for a joke, but still decides to go over to the house and check on them. She goes through the house after not getting a response, finding Annie's corpse laid out in front of Judith's gravestone. She also finds the bodies of her other friends as well, before Michael appears and knocks her over a railing. She doesn't break anything, but she definitely hurts herself because she does
You'd
limp
think
around.
she'd break her neck. That weren't a small, like, that was a massive.
It wasn't a Halloween Ends fall where that kid just gets fucking wrecked. Where it just falls over a railing like 5 stories to his death. But it's enough of a fall where she should definitely have had something broken, but she hurts herself somehow because she does limp for like the majority of the film now. But not enough. There's not enough damage there to show that, well, what she should have done. Oh, anyway. So Laurie, despite an injured leg, as mentioned, manages to escape the house and run up the street with nobody answering her cries for help. She makes it back to Tommy's house, banging on the door until the kids let her in. I remembered this like finale being a lot longer. I don't know why. Because obviously Michael then gets in and finds them, and then like they have a little fight, and then Loomis shoots him. And the film ends. There you go. I can just leave the review there. There you go. Shut the computer down. No, I thought it was longer. I completely forgot how short it actually is. Michael stalks Laurie throughout the house until she hides the kids and retreats into a closet. Michael quickly deduces where she is and attacks her, but she stabs him in the eye with a wire hanger, causing him to drop his knife, so she stabs him with it. Now, he will have that eye wound for the rest of, well, through the few scenes we see of him without his mask on in the later films, he still has a fucked up looking eye. So it's good to see, like, the continuity of his eye just being absolutely fucked. So Laurie lets the kids out and tells them to go get help as Michael gets back up behind her. I don't know why I said it so weird. The kids cry out, which alerts Loomis, who heads into the house to confront Michael, shooting him several times until he falls from the upstairs balcony. Loomis looks out to see that Michael had survived and fled the scene as he was comforting Laurie, and Michael can be heard breathing as the film comes to an end. And there we are. Halloween, the original Halloween. At long last, we've got round to it after covering a sequel and 2 remakes. So, babe, what were your thoughts?
For a 1978 film, it still looks good to this day.
It does still
Like,
look good.
it doesn't look terrible. You can tell it's old, but it's not like old.
Mm.
I mean, there was a few shots when like they were in the car and it was just complete black, like you couldn't make out an outline or anything. But you know, at least it wasn't the actors that were blacked out. But bearing in mind it had the budget that it had, they kind of did well.
They used it so well.
He's fucking breathing though. Does someone want to get that guy in a fucking inhaler or something?
Have you ever worn a mask that's like that?
No, because I'm an asthmatic.
Because
So
the gap to breathing is like that.
Mum never wore a mask,
Mm.
so
Which
I
is fair.
generally
They're
don't
not
know what
comfortable.
it's like.
They're not comfortable.
I'm just saying that he was a really fucking heavy breather, but we did see his face like slightly in the.
Very briefly, his face could be seen, and then that's it. So, answer your questions.
Yes, we have it on DVD.
We have it on
Yes, honey.
DVD, and it's her cup of tea. We did agree.
I don't think
We
we're
couldn't
gonna
come up with a
do-
best and worst kill. We didn't come up before. I think the worst kill I can think of is the mechanic that Loomis finds. Doesn't even find dead. He's just dead on like a bank, and like a sand bank, kind of. And Loomis don't even see him.
A lot of these off screen, or they just weren't. If they had a little bit of blood there, that probably would have made it
but the budget sort of restricted them.
Mm.
And again, we've just done the Evil Dead, and there's loads of blood and piss loads of blood. I don't know who can get best kill because it's the original. It's very tame in regards to it. It's like murders. But if I had to pick one, I think it would probably have to be Annie. Can't go wrong with a float. Well, she gets strangled a bit, and then her throat's slit. She did. She is a lot more irritating in this than she is in the later ones. In the remakes, I should say. But yeah, I think she can probably get it. Or maybe Linda with the phone wire. What do you think, Linda or Annie? Throat slit or a phone wire?
I'm probably have to go Annie because she
I'll go
generally
with
did
Annie.
annoy me. She just seemed that annoying.
Yeah, she was a pain in the ass. She wasn't really likable. She just fucked around with Laurie a bit too much. But other than that, yeah, best kill can go to Annie. We were as we said, we're very restricted with the kills because it was just a few stabbings. The worst kill can just go to the mechanic because it was all off screen and no one even found his body. So, cool beans. So, of course, those were our thoughts and our little discussion about the film itself for Halloween. I don't know what else to say. It's fucking It's the original Halloween. It's so like the iconography of everything. Everything's just so well known. It's had such like an obsessive following. It's such a cult classic. And obviously the sequels. The sequels get progressively worse, but we will get them eventually. But for now, that was the 1978 original. It's my turn on Monday or Tuesday even. That's when it comes out. I think. I think if I'm working or not, it depends.
You are.
No, I'm working Monday and Tuesday. Bug. Anyway, we'll sort something out. We'll get there at some point. We might have to record like Sunday or something in advance. But anyway, thank you so much. Scream free for Amelia next week, as far as I'm aware, unless she changes her mind. The worst one of the lot, if I may say. So yeah, we will see you then. Thank you so much for listening. I've been your host as ever, Purple Midnight 8, joined by my wife, the Obsidian Nook, Petalessa Ma, or as I know her as Amelia. You'll find her links alongside all of mine in the description below. And we will see you in a few days.